I think we've got a pretty good showing now. There we go. And just, we got a couple new faces that we will introduce here in a minute, but Mickey, just for your edification, we usually record these meetings and put them on our website. So. And I'm assuming, oh, Kelly's still here. Okay. Kelly, are you dropping off here in a few minutes?
Yeah, I just signed in through my phone.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, just check it. All right, well, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. Like I said, it is already July 13th, hard to believe. And we will get started with our Citizens Advisory Workgroup meeting. So Amy's going to run slides today. Kelly is on, but attending remotely from her daughter's softball game, I believe. So like all good meetings, we will mute you if you can't mute yourself, or if you don't know how to mute yourself, go ahead and mute yourself. Lots of ways to chat. This is still an interactive meeting, so raise your hand, throw something in the chat. We always like to have conversations going on. You don't have to turn your camera on, but I am a visual person, so I like to see your face, and the meeting is recorded. So we don't have a ton of content for the agenda today, but I think we've got lots of other things to talk about. So let's go ahead. Oh, and I like that. Nice beach scene. So there's our housekeeping and welcome. As I was telling everybody, it is my favorite time of the year because blueberry season just started yesterday, and my son and I went and picked 23 pounds of blueberries in an hour. Very excited. So favorite time of the year. But we will probably stay on time today, I'm hoping. We're going to shoot to end at 7:30 on time. So MPART updates. We're going to do MPART updates, subcommittee updates, agency updates. We're going to brainstorm. I want to pick your brains on a few ideas for videos, and then we'll talk some more at the very end about our next meeting. So let's go to the next slide. As always, you guys, there's no dumb questions, there's no dumb comments, but let's be civil and professional. This is about getting things, making our state and the process better, and let's keep it focused on big topics instead of individual sites. We can always answer questions, but let's keep it focused on what we can do for our statewide community specific to PFAS. And it's always good to have that open communication. So we don't all think alike, and that's actually a really good thing. So it's good to have a variety of perspectives and communication styles on the call. So next slide. Updates. All right. So I think she had a slide. There we go. Thank you. So we did have one person that dropped off the COG. Renee Mata resigned, but we do have two new members coming in today. Rick Burns will be joining us, I think, a little bit late. He was still on the road and was going to join us when he could dial in here probably in about another 15 minutes. But Margaret Mickey Brum is with us. Hi, Mickey. Thank you for joining us. Mickey is up in Marquette. And has just recently joined us after hearing the Marquette Town Hall on the precautionary sampling that was done up there around the Marquette Airport. So thank you for that, Mickey. Appreciate it. Giving everybody just an update on some of the other things that are going on. One of the big things that's working its way through the process is the Part 201 promulgation of our groundwater cleanup criteria. So we have 7 standards. all of them are effective in enforcement or enforceable, but 5 of them that were new to Part 201 are going through the formal promulgation process. And so that Part 201 groundwater cleanup criteria public hearing was last Thursday night on July 8th. And so they received some comments from that, but the public comment period is still open. And so if you have any comments on, it's basically adopting what is the MCLs for all of the drinking water MCL criteria or MCL standards over to Part 201 groundwater cleanup criteria. But if you got any comments or written thoughts, please submit those by August 9th. And that can be sent to the eagle-rrd@michigan.gov. And we can probably throw that in the chat so everybody's got the right mailbox. But that just goes to a mailbox. We'll compile all of those written comments, responses. We put it into a responsiveness document and then submit that with the package to and make it into an agency report, and then summarize everything, send it off to the Michigan Office of Administrative Hearings, and then to the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules, so JCAR. They have 15 days to look at it, approve it, reject it, come up with comments, but it's anticipated that within 60 to 90 days, that'll all happen after the close of public comment period. So public comments are done August 9th. Hopefully by the end of the year, we will see a formal promulgation of those additional 5 criteria. So that's where we are on that. Any questions on that piece of it? Okay. All right. New sites. Can I tell you how full our pipeline is with new sites? Sandy's shaking her head. Yep, exactly. So most of these are small things. Most of them are not big sites or big concentrations or PFAS sites, but they are still have concentrations above either groundwater cleanup or drinking water standards. So Belding Wastewater Treatment Plant, again, it's a lagoon from their wastewater treatment. And that's, again, being done out of abundance of caution. Cavco landfills down in Plainwell, that was an old landfill. Again, has some concentrations of PFAS, not exceptionally high. Former EI DuPont, that should be DuPont, not DuPont. In Flint, MBS International Airport is an area of interest yet because we don't have a groundwater sample that is has actual exceedances in groundwater yet, but then we've probably got another 10 sites that are still working their way through the process, getting write-ups and getting the final workings so that they can get posted and then get all of the local official calls, get the if we need to do a town hall or we need to do any of those kinds of things. So those are all working through the process. So that's quite a bit of work right there. If we can go to the next slide, Amy. Wanted to give you some perspective on some of the other stuff. So remember, our normal current protocol is once we get a groundwater sample, then we make it an actual site, and often we were stepping out because of those groundwater samples to look at residential homes. So just to get you an idea of some of the number of residential well samples that have been happening across the state, and this is cumulative for these sites. This is over the last couple of years. So Cherry Capital we are aware of. Pellston's been going on for a little while. Cascade is the Grand Rapids Airport, and so that's a neighborhood to the northeast. Battle Creek, again, existing. Kinchlow That actually happened, I think, a couple of years ago, and Muskegon has been going on for a couple of years. So, but based on what we've learned from those sites, based on the use of AFFF at pretty much all of those sites, and understanding when we see PFAS in residential drinking water wells, what the, conceptual site model looks like for both the hydrogeology, the fate and transport, concentrations, all of that has really led us to the next step, which is the next slide, which is our step out in the cases where we don't have really any on-site data. We don't have necessarily a good idea of the on-site locations of sources, but we know AFFF was used at a lot of these airports for either training or fire and rescue or crashes, that kind of stuff. So we've gone out and done precautionary residential drinking water sampling. Luckily, you'll see that the numbers are looking pretty good. Gigobic, we did 29 res well samples, only have one above criteria. Delta County, same thing. Looks like the smaller airports, obviously, probably less use of AFFF, less training, less congestion, so less actual contamination. Marquette will probably step out and do a little bit more, but at this point we just have one, and that's the former Marquette County Airport. So just to make sure that we're clear on that one. Oakland County, that's in Pontiac. Again, there's going to be some additional step outs on that, but at this point we just have one above criteria. Lansing Capital, and you'll remember from the last COG meeting, this is the one that Kim Sikowski came and talked to us about. And we talked about the fact that it took her two and a half months to try to send out 45 letters for requests to do the sampling. I don't even know how this happened, but out of the 10 wells that were sampled, none of them had concentrations above criteria. So that's a victory for our residents. And then at this point, MBS International Airport, we've got a couple surface water samples there that have some exceedances, but the 4 residential wells that are closest to the airport do not have any concentrations. I think they were actually all not detected. So that's all really good news because, it kind of checks that off. Now the airports can kind of continue on their way of doing really good site characterization for understanding the groundwater, the surface water, the geology of their sites. And we don't necessarily have to wait for this piece of the residential drinking water wells to be analyzed. So I think this has been a success for us and really for you guys, because I think it's the thinking and the conversations that we've done over the last couple of months, last 6 months about, having those preemptive conversations and thought processes that really led us to making sure we're doing this precautionary residential well sampling. So kudos to you guys. And then what's our next slide? Okay. Before we get to the subcommittee, one other thing I wanted to throw out, and maybe Amy, you can throw it out on the, and we could talk about this as well, but if you want to throw the link out. The other thing I forgot to put in this slide deck that I wanted to give you guys a quick update on, there is a consolidation contamination remediation grant. It's a C2R2 grant is what we're calling it. And at this point, a number of our communities, hardest hit communities, have actually been able to receive grants. So Amy's showing you right now how you get there. If you go to Eagle, michigan.gov/Eagle, loans and grants and loans, the Consolidation Contamination Risk Reduction Grant. Thank you for the right title. And then she's got her cursor down there on the C2R2 priority list. So what she's going to show you then is that list. Amy, if you can hit the increase button a couple times so our eyes don't blur. Yeah, that little button, yeah. Sweet. So you can see based on this, and this list will continue to be updated, but a majority of the money has been kind of allocated at this point. So you'll see these, the dashed line right there under Rockford is right where that list is right now. So we've got a number of cities that have been able to receive infrastructure money, basically to hook up affected residents to municipal water. Cascade being a fairly big neighborhood for Grand Rapids, as well as Plainfield as well. So know that I'm anticipating, based on the fact that we have some extra dollars floating around in this year's budget, that I'm hopeful, at least, let's say it that way, hopeful that we might get some additional funding to continue our way down this list. So just know that other communities that are on this list are not going to be tossed out. We'll probably continue to work down, but that's this is the current status of where we're at. So I just thought I'd bring that up. That's good news for a lot of you guys that are sitting on this committee. So questions on that? Okay, excellent. Okay. And then my last thing I will tell you is that as I'm whipping through the stuff, that we did close on taking abstracts for our PFAS summit. And so we're in the process of reviewing abstracts for the summit that our MPART PFAS Summit, Great Lakes PFAS Summit, will be the first week in December. And so you'll be seeing an agenda and, registration and stuff probably starting in October. So just have that on your mind. It'll be virtual, so you can do it from anywhere in the state and or anywhere in the country. As Ken likes to do, he likes to travel all over the country and be available to attend our meetings. So, all right. I think that brings my updates to a close for now. Any questions before we get into the subcommittees? Oops, I thought I saw a hand. Did I see something or no? Dave, sure, jump in.
Yeah, Abby, I have a couple of questions. First, the residential well information that you received, or that you showed, is what is that date? What is that wells based on? Is that done in 2019, 2020? And where did that information come from? Did it come from MDHHS?
That's mostly based off of our MPART sampling that is on our website. So it didn't include any of the military installations. So that's the one thing that I should clear up.
I'm confused because you go back one slide, please.
Yep. Yeah, there we go.
You show us SCOTA at 411, and you show them above criteria is 2. That is not correct.
All right. I've got, is Bill on here? We'll make sure that let me check into that. And
yeah, we can check that. I'm not sure where that information came from.
I can tell you right now, the 411 is pretty close, but the above criteria, according to Paneep and Suminetti, is that the above criteria as of last year's testing was 20.
Was 20. Okay. All right.
So
maybe this is
I don't know where that data is coming from.
Okay. Good point, Dave. We will make sure it gets correct.
All right. Number 2 question. That priority list that you showed, the priority list data that you showed, where can each one of us get a copy? Can somebody send out a website or where we can get that information?
Yep, it's on. Amy attached it to this meeting in the chat. So if you click on her link, you can download it to your computer.
Okay, is it in the MPART website?
It's in the Eagle website.
Eagle website, okay.
Yep, yep.
All right, and that list is as I heard you, that's state money that is being used for municipal water hookups?
Yep, yep. It was money set aside by the legislature to help communities affected by PFAS. And then
Is
there
that
was
state legislature? State
Yeah.
legislature or US?
state legislature. And so it was $25 million in funds to do both consolidation as well as contamination PFAS sites. And so when the communities all submitted their applications, there was like $83 million worth of asks, and we had $25 million. And so they did a ranking system based on number of affected people and, you know, that kinds of ranking to come up with a scoring process to figure out who's going to get the money first. So that is just
who did the ranking?
our grants and loans program in Eagle did.
Okay, I'd be interested to talk to them because I see the cutoff was before Oscoda, and Oscoda was one of the original sites that was asking for municipal water a long time ago. So I'm confused. I'd like to understand a little bit more about this. I'll be bringing this up to our people in Oscoda.
Okay, well, definitely Amy's got the website up right here, and it does explain the process. And then there's a lot more information here. So I would check out the website.
Okay.
And it's just the, michigan.gov/Eagle, and then you're looking for the grants and loans under our main Eagle page. So
Okay,
it should have that.
thank you.
Yeah, but if you don't get your answers you're looking for, Dave, give me a call.
All right, thank you.
Yep. And then we'll double check on this number because you're right, I don't want to put out faulty numbers. Maybe that was supposed to be 20 and we just forgot the 0. I'm not sure. So. All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Any other questions? All right. Oh, Connie, you want to jump in there?
Abby, I think it would be useful if you could put down the dates that the samples were collected from the residential wells, because we have no idea when they were. Was it in 2017 or when the standards were, more 70 parts per million for the two? I mean, parts per trillion for the two or whatever. You always should have dates when you're doing sampling.
Yeah, this was just a big picture overview. If we want specifics, we got to go into each and every web page, because a lot of them have done sampling before and after the criteria shifted. And so we've gone back and made some of those adjustments. But you're right, we want to make sure that they are comparing to the most recent criteria to get the best numbers. So yeah, good point, Connie.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm going to hand it over to AJ or Ken. Do you guys want to go first? Who wants to go first?
I think I'd like to have AJ go first because his won't be as in-depth.
Okay. Glad to give it. With respect to the most recent updates, the process, there's a lot to update on the website. We've gotten the drinking water page is going to be updated to include both public and now private drinking water wells. The PFAS and drinking water page is going to be updated. The site info table, we had talked a while ago about moving some information like latitude and longitude and replacing it with perhaps some more useful information to communities. And there's been several updates to the work groups that exist in addition to this Citizens Advisory Work Group. Most of you are aware that there's been a number of work groups. Kind of to that end, I just wanted to add a quick aside. Since the work groups, some of which I mentioned, were established, a number of us have pushed really hard for a voice for impacted communities. We were very excited when MPART decided to add a Citizens Advisory Work Group. Since I think it was 2019, COG members have dealt with dozens of PFAS related issues, and I've been proud to be a part of that. Some of the folks on the call may have noticed that I've pushed really hard for change and transparency, sometimes with a little extra urgency. And I just wanted to let this group know that a large part of that is because last year I was diagnosed with terminal inoperable cancer. I've been going through chemo and radiation, taking actually several calls here from and with other groups from the chemo chair. But now the doctors have said my time is kind of up and I must reluctantly step back. I'll participate as much as I can in future meetings. And I guess I just have one final note or request to those on this call. No matter what our differences may be as communities, finding common ground and working together is really the most important goal. Responsible parties seek to divide us. They have more resources than us, and we really must remain strong. And there's really no more effective advocate for impacted communities than the communities themselves. Let's just continue to find common ground and advocate for those that have been impacted, and perhaps even more importantly, those who don't even realize that they've been impacted yet. Those on this COG and those in community-based groups like the PFAS Alliance must continue to fight the good fight for greater transparency and action. And I only regret that I won't be around to kind of see this process to its end. But I wanted to thank everyone here for the opportunity to work with you. Just as a quick aside, a couple of things. Richard Radisky will be taking over as the acting director of the PFAS Alliance. He's also a member of this COG. And as far as taking over as the subcommittee chair for the web subcommittee, I talked to Bill Creel, who's been a very active participant and contributor to what we've done. And obviously it's a decision to be made by the COG, but he's expressed a willingness to take over as the subcommittee chair. Again, it's been a real honor to work with everyone here. I'll probably be on a couple more calls, but otherwise I'll probably be stepping aside. Thank you.
All right, AJ, you're going to make me cry. There's no crying in the COG. AJ, I just want to say from, having walked this path with you for many, many years, your dedication, your tenacity, your, just your backbone to get in there and really do the right thing has been evident the whole way through. I never doubted you for a minute, and I'm happy that I got to spend so much time with you as we walked through, a lot of ups and downs with Wolverine, as well as with some of our other PFAS sites, and just know that you did a great job, and you are definitely leaving a legacy, and I just really, really appreciate all of your hard work. So I see Lynn's got her hand up. Lynn, would you like to chime in?
Yes, I'm hoping you can hear me.
Yep, we can.
Okay, I did it finally. Wow. Okay. Yes, I would like to say to AJ and to the rest of the group that I think I'm one of the few people who have had the privilege over 11 years now to see the character and the fiber of who AJ really is. And it's okay. I'm gonna cry. In Rockford here, our small group, CCRR, we never would have made it to the finish line without AJ's help in strategizing and protecting us and encouraging us to be reasonable. In the beginning, we hired him as our environmental attorney. After that, he just did it because he cared. And he is one of the most remarkable people that I will have known in my lifetime. And I will deeply miss him, and I do want everyone here who may not know these stories to understand how much he really has given, and I look forward to seeing that legacy continue. And AJ, you will be dearly, dearly missed.
Thank you so much.
Rick?
Yeah, I just wanted to, again, thank AJ for all of his outstanding contributions. It's been a real pleasure working with him on very complicated PFAS issues and also helping other communities. And he certainly, as Lynn said, will be
getting off, or he died or something.
He certainly will be missed, and we wish him the best. And yeah, thanks for everything, AJ.
Thank you, Rick. Pam, your hand's up.
Thank you for allowing me to speak, AJ. Although I've never had the pleasure of meeting you, there was one thing that stood out to me from the beginning, was that you were going to be the voice, and there was many of us that was going to be grasshoppers, and we were going to learn. And I want to thank you for continuing to make my interest, and you made it intriguing in the time that I've been on here. I thank you for mentoring to all of us, and we'll carry the torch forward, each and every one of us, and you will be missed. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. All right, so Ken, I think you're up next for something a little bit less emotional.
And I just have to add, AJ, you're a hell of a mentor. It's been a wild ride, and you calmed down my impatience, and you also will be remembered going forward. So your work will not stop as you resign yourself to not being part of these committees. And I will personally miss you as well.
Thank you, Scott. Let's keep up the good fight.
We will. We've had that conversation, but this kind of puts finality to the situation. And now we need to go on to this wonderful document that we put forward, struggled with for several months. And I think, unless somebody has any big objections, I would like to go through it real quick and ask for.
Yeah, do you want us to put it up?
Yeah, please.
I'd like obligation of people.
Whoops.
And it's the obligation, and this is so opposite.
Whoops, Stacy, do
Am
you
I
have
not muted?
Yeah, or do you want us to mute you, or are you trying to speak to the group?
Oh, I'm sorry. I pushed the wrong button. Sorry.
Okay.
Oops. Mute. Make her mute. Yeah, you mute me. I'm not doing something right here.
Okay. There. You're muted now, Stacy. Raise your hand if you want to talk. So we can bring that document up if you'd like, Ken.
I think if we scroll through it, we scrolled through it last time. I sent it to everybody. I hope they had a chance to look at it today. And we've had all the separate meetings and the work sessions. And it's my belief that we've had everybody that had an opportunity to request a change be heard, and we've accommodated that. So if there's no big changes, or if any changes in this, I would ask for unanimous consent from this group to go ahead and hand this off to MPART to give to Eagle as our recommendations. As I'm handing this off to the COG. And the other part is, this is just the beginning. The struggle is going to take a long time, and there's going to be many opportunities we're going to have to go forward and tweak this, because this is notifying people that there is potential, probable harm that could be taking place in their drinking water wells or surface water near their homes. So if you could just scroll down, does anybody have any issues with this document? If it scrolls too fast, holler, and if not, we can ask for the unanimous consent.
Yeah, I think the big pieces are, what becomes a qualifying investigation, when should the notification happen, what constitutes the notice, some key elements for the basis of investigation, what chemicals, the extent of contamination, next steps, if there's any residential sampling, contact information, ongoing process for notification, educational resources, and then, continuing to work on web-based PFAS contamination location systems. So, which I can give a little update on as well. So, but hold on a second, let me shut my door. All right, so any comments, questions for Ken on this one?
Abby, it looks like Bill Creel has his hand up.
He does. Bill, good evening. How's it going?
Good. Yeah, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Oh, thanks. Scott, I just have a question on the surface water aspect. If we're going to notify the potentially impacted people on that, is that through the local governments and the watershed groups, or is the expectation that property owners and anybody that uses the water would be notified?
Well, the intent was that you'd notify all those government agencies or watersheds, and if during that investigation or the initial look, it be that surface water be looked at and say this could be an issue. And again, this is a beginning. In a perfect world, I'd say with that surface water, add something to it to say you want to check the foam part of the website and see what that looks like, because some of that is going to be there after heavy rains and some of it's going to be gone soon, and we're not going to get somebody from Eagle to run out there and test that foam immediately, and by the time it's tested or time to get out there, it's going to be gone. So there's a lot of work that has to be done on that surface water, but I think it's just an education process that needs to take place to make people aware. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the notification, this is a good start. My concern is just that if we expect to notify property owners near, adjacent, or likely to use surface waters, that's going to be an untenable task for Eagle or MPART to accomplish. I think that if you use the local governments, watershed groups, media outlets like we've specified, I think that'll work. I think the rest of it, the property owners works good for the groundwater part. The surface water part gets a little tough because you have public access sites, boat launches, people fishing, you have, fish that may be contaminated. You have a whole big group of potentially impacted people that's going to be tough to individually notify without using just the local governments, media outlets, watershed groups, and that.
And again, I think this is just the working document to hand to Eagle, MPART, and they'll have to look at that part of it. Because again, I look at myself as kind of a simple guy, and when I was listening to the Gogovic airport situation, one of the local officials lived on the stream that came off the airport property that had been tested positive for PFAS. And it just, how do you notify those folks? Maybe it's not a direct letter, but it could be in some kind of local media. But that was a surprise to him, and he was on the local leader's call before it ever went public. So I don't disagree with you, but if you took every one of these items on here, you could probably make the same cases. It's going to be difficult for them to deal with. And again, it's our recommendation. So.
Okay, thanks.
All righty. Anybody else out there? I think I see Laura.
Laura's got.
Yes. Hi, Scott. Can you hear me?
I can.
Great. Yes, I think you make a really great point. This is the start, and I think you've covered, the whole group has covered all the bases. I think it's a thorough, the local governments, the health departments, and the media. I mean, and like the question about surface water, yeah, there are many user groups, but I do think that those are the best tools we have. And I think those are really effective tools. So I just want to thank you for the work that you all did on that.
You're very welcome. There was a lot of people who put a lot of effort into this, and I appreciate all that work they did. Shannon.
Hey, Scott, just a real quick question. I popped this in the chat box too, but for organizations and other maybe community leaders that might want to just look at the document so that we know how to support the COG in this recommendation, will this be available for others to access and read? And if it is available for people that aren't on the COG board, where can we get to it?
I guess that's a question for Abby. Once we hand it to him, it's got to go right on the website, I would think. And again, it's COG members are making the comments today, not external organizations.
Right, and this is a recommendation from the COG to MPART. So it's something obviously we're going to take some time, really digest, thoroughly look at. But my expectations are we will go ahead and put this on the website so everybody can take a look at it. I mean, unless there's some huge reservations from the COG, that's where I would put it, is out on the website. Probably under the Citizens Advisory Work Group. Let's see if I can get to that part of it. MPART, you still seeing my screen? Hopefully.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, there we go. So here's Citizens Advisory Work Group right in the MPART webpage. And then we've got meeting materials. So we'll probably put it maybe somewhere up here in the top so that it's easier to find. And Kelly and Amy and I will work on exactly what that'll look like, but I would think we can just put a box up here or some sort of a quick box here so that you don't have to dig into the meeting materials to find it. But this is the best place for it so that people can find it, and it's with the COG work group materials. So.
Does that help, Shannon?
She said, thank you.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
All righty.
Okay.
Any
Excellent.
other comments? And just before we take a unanimous consent action, I just want to say that I was thrilled tonight to hear about that grant funding, because some of those areas that needed a second shot in the arm for funding to get that municipal water to them were items that this subcommittee had been talking about months and months ago. So I really know that people are listening to what we're asking for. And I do believe that's all part of the legislature helping fund that money on a bipartisan basis. And I think this subcommittee has been doing work on a bipartisan basis, and we put all that behind us, and this is the document that we've asked everybody now to consider. Is there anybody who objects to passing this document to the COG and having it recommended to MPART? Raise your hand or say something, or if not, we will accept this as unanimous consent, which I was told was impossible with this group.
Good job, everybody. Good job.
Okay, thank you all, and it's only a beginning, and AJ, you done good.
Yep, AJ, this was AJ's, a good chunk of it was AJ's drafting and start. So really appreciate his hard work on this as well. It is just a start, but like all good things, you got to start somewhere. My thoughts are, I will take this back to my leadership. We will do a thorough dive into it, look at, the recommendations, look at, what is the, how do we implement pieces of it, parts of it, all of it? What do the resource limitations look like, staffing? There's a lot of things to consider when you're looking at a document like this. So we want to make sure that we do a thorough job of that before we come back to you guys with specific recommendations coming back from your recommendation to us. So look for that. But I do want to make this an open process, transparent. So like I said, our thoughts are to put it on the MPART website, share it with whoever wants to have the conversation, because I think ultimately, transparency goes beyond PFAS. It goes beyond government. It's all about building trust in our communities again. And trust is something that's been eroded from our cultures and our societies. And so we need to be able to trust each other. And the best way to do that is share the information. We're not hiding anything. This is all good information for people to have. So but I do want to take a moment and just really appreciate all of you guys. We've spent several months hard, probably starting back in March, I think maybe even January. I said, let's write something up, give us your proposal recommendations from the COG to MPART. So this has been many meetings. I appreciate Ken for his hard work in chairing this group and getting it going to the point of actually getting a unanimous vote on this. That's a major miracle. Thank you. And I want to just say that, we're going to take our time to carefully consider it as well. And a lot of the conversations we've already have are already having fruits, yielding fruits. You see with the precautionary sampling that we're doing and some of our other changes to the website, we're already trying to implement some of the things that you guys are proposing here. But we'll continue to look for other avenues to make our processes even better, to be even more transparent. So, all right. Let's see, Amy, can you bring the slides back up? Because I think we're off of, so I think we've gotten past this slide. Thank you. Agency updates. And so we've got a few of our MPART agencies here. So we have another slide after this, or is this or we just need to jump around then? All right. Yep. Okay. You can go back to the agency update. Sorry. All right. So I know that we've got a couple of people from DHHS on, either Bill or Marcus. Do you guys want to do any updates to this group as far as DHHS work? I'm kind of springing this on you, so.
No, that's okay, Abby. This is Marcus. I can just fill you guys in. Our resampling is continuing in Grayling and Oscoda, so that's good news. Let's see, our health studies. We are wrapping up the first time point of MIPES. So MIPES is the Michigan PFAS Exposure and Health Study. It will have 3 time points, which means that over the course of 5 years, there will be 3 data points collected from the same individual. And time point 1 is starting to wrap up. So what that means is by the end of August, we're going to be slowing that down and ramping up the national version of that study, which is called the multi-site study, which is a study that takes place in 7 different sites across the country, and Michigan was selected as one of those sites. The neighborhoods will be the same as with MIPES, although the selection criteria are going to be a little bit different than that for MIPES. So if you're in MIPES, you can just double check and see if you're eligible for the multi-site study. Firefighter study is rolling along. We've got 11 of 12 fire stations sampled for 2021, and we're aiming for another at least 8, it looks like, for next year, but probably more than that. And I think that's where we are. Oh, the PFAS exposure and antibody response study, we achieved our goal of 250 participants. We don't have any data back on that yet, but that study hit the goal. So that was exciting news.
Excellent. Excellent. Thanks, Marcus.
Yep.
Excellent. Bill, anything you want to add on your end from individual site updates? All right. Bill's in a listening mode. We'll leave him be.
That's okay, Abby. I had to sprint up from my basement to unmute myself because I was listening down in the basement, but my computer was all the way up in the kitchen. So that's why I sounded out of breath. Because I'm like, oh, she's going to call DHHS. I know it.
She is. Okay. And then I think I see Chris Kosmowski's on, and I don't normally do these to these poor people, but Chris, anything you might want to chime in from MDARD? Chris is with our Department of Agriculture Rural Development.
I guess not. I don't have a lot to update the group on other than I do tend to participate every month. So I do appreciate hearing the comments and discussion that, that takes place. But anything specific to MDART, I don't really have anything at the moment to update the group on.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that, Chris. Excellent. All right, and I think as far as other, potential updates, we are, like I said, we've just got a slew of additional sites coming through the pipeline, landfills, dumps, mostly manufacturing, industrial. That seems to be, we're learning pretty quickly here where the sites with the highest concentrations are coming from. So I think we've learned quite a bit in the last couple of years. And then we are getting calls from other states for help on a variety of different things. They are coming to Michigan for specific help on, how did you handle this? How did you handle that? And so we've been, working with them as well. All right, I think that is most of the topics that we have. Yeah, and then you'll see there was quite a few. If you guys have all subscribed to the MPART updates, there is a list of upcoming PFAS meetings that are on the list that are coming. So keep an eye on those as well. So, all right, let's go to the next one. Next slide real quick. We're going to get done on time today. So we have a opportunity here. We have some pretty creative people within Eagle who can do 1-minute videos for us. And if I can, let's see if I can do this, Amy. Unless Amy, you didn't have that the video itself linked in, right?
Nope. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. There, Eagle has a YouTube channel, so if you put in gov / Eagle YouTube, that should come up. And oops, except if you type it, it's not good. Anyways, we have a whole bunch of 1-minute videos that are you know, basically nuggets of a specific topic. So we've had all kinds of different topics, including one on well water, one on community water, one on crayfish. I mean, it's quite a wide variety, but if you put in YouTube and look at Eagle's, there's an Eagle YouTube page. And one of the ideas that we have is we're going to put together a minute-and-a-half video for the basics of what is PFAS. And so that we can attach it with, you know, meeting notices, we can attach it with other kinds of educational pieces, or if you've got upcoming meetings or other things going on, you can attach those. And 1 minute people will give you, they may not give you 5 minutes to watch a whole video, and they're probably not going to give you a whole hour to watch my PFAS 101 video. So I'd like some ideas from this group about where to go next. If you've got a PFAS video right now, that's going to talk about, the one we've got right now kind of crafted is going to talk the basics of what is PFAS? Why do I care? What, you know, what's it about? All in 1 minute. And then the next step is what else do you guys want a video made about that can be a teaching element? How do we best reach our public and have elements that we want to actually communicate? So I'm looking for ideas and brainstorming, and we can write them all down and start working on crafting some of that. So Lynn, you are up. Do you want me to unmute you? Oh, nope, you got it.
I think I did it. Wow, I'm good tonight. All right. Rare. One idea I've had, I don't know if it would take a minute, but I think it would make a strong point, is to physically set up a swimming pool and have children come and see what does it look like to put a drop or two of PFAS in that pool. Something that makes it very real when you have these little quick computer images and they show, well, PFAS, it's this much in an Olympic-sized pool, but to actually physically involve children in that and experience that and have other people watch them experience that, I think it'd be very powerful. And I also think it would be good to do something that shows colors. Very simple, but the fact that if you had 2 water droplets, one had PFAS in it and the other one was just regular water, you couldn't tell the difference. However, if one had a drop of oil in it, you could see it. Or bright green algae, you'd see it. A red chemical, you'd see it. I mean, on a stormy day, you might see some foam. But again, something that makes it very clear that you're not going to notice it by yourself.
Right.
So I would do some things that rely on those things to make it more real. I think we tend to educate people just with graphs and charts and words.
Yeah. So do you think, Lynn, along the lines of, I'm thinking not just children, but even adults, what is, you know, 10 parts per trillion really look like?
Yeah, but I think the adults would get it if they saw children doing that. I mean, I think they'd really get it. When you see how big a swimming pool is and you go and you put a little drop or 2 in there, whatever it is, I always forget, that's pretty powerful. I mean, that's how small it is. And there's other ways to show how small it is, but then my other one, of course, is the huge lemon meringue pie. I'm teasing, but I just envision at the cherry festival, you know, instead of the biggest cherry pie, the largest lemon meringue pie with meringue on it. It's just like, this is what it looks like on the river. But I'm teasing about that one. But again, I do think it's, or something where you have two glasses of water and one has PFAS in it and the other one doesn't. And you do that trick where you put it in front of two characters and they play act it. Which one do you want? Well, you go first. No, you go first. You know, really, that's what I think would be a helpful thing. That would engage my interest much more than a PowerPoint or graphs and words. That's it.
Yeah, you can't do that in 1 minute, that's for sure.
So that's it. I'll stop now. I usually could keep going, but I won't.
Thanks, Lynn.
Yep.
Mickey, what's your ideas?
Well, I sit on the Marquette Area Solid Wastewater Advisory Board, and in the month of July, the wastewater treatment plants all over the state are going to be asked to report PFAS, I believe, in their incoming and exit streams. And my idea is, I'm a chemical engineer by training, so my idea is you're going to teach people very quickly what is PFAS, where are you looking for it, and why. And you could have people testing water, you can have people testing wells, you can have people testing swimming pools, or swimming ponds, outdoor swimming ponds. But you can also show, because you're going to hear more and more about PFAS and not necessarily understand why they're testing for it in so many places. And I think once the wastewater data starts coming in, it'll raise a different type of question, because I don't think it occurs to a lot of people that PFAS is still entering the wastewater system and leaving. And so my idea is I granted it's a little duller than some of the others, but just showing the number of people in Michigan testing the number of different places and saying that the government's looking for it because we want to know where it is and how much it is. And then, the rest of the videos about even a little bit can be a problem. I think that one drop in a swimming pool can make a difference. That's my idea.
I like it. Because I do think that's the issue with the swimming pool is that one drop can make a difference at the part per trillion rate. And so that's what's hard to get your mind grasp around, is the fact that you've got a toxicity issue at 8 parts per trillion or 16 parts per trillion. That's really hard for most of us to get our minds wrapped around. So excellent. All right, thanks, Mickey.
Thank you.
Sandy, I see your hands up. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think those are all really important thoughts. I guess it's hard to cram everything into a minute, but I think the other issue is this is not just a water issue. This is coming into our system through food packaging and through a variety of ways that it's being used in manufacturing. So I don't want people to think that just because maybe they think they have good drinking water, they're not being exposed to it. I don't know how you do that in a 1-minute video other than to show it's prevalent everywhere, which is part of why it gets into our wastewater and our landfills and all of that, because it's so prolific in manufacturing. And then I think I think the idea of the drop in a swimming pool may get lost on people. My only hesitancy would be, I've had some people say, well, if it's a drop, what's the big deal? People pee in my pool and I still swim. It doesn't matter. So just be careful on that. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, that's good job. Thanks, Sandy. I see Laura's got her hand up. Laura.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to see a 1-minute video on the foam, right? We're on the Saginaw Bay in Bay County. And I've actually heard recently of a pretty well-informed gentleman I work with whose grandkids was playing in the foam. And even if it's not PFAS, people should be just staying away from the foam. And so I would like to, and then I personally get calls that, oh, I've got PFAS foam on my shoreline. And so some kind of distinction between color, as far as bright white versus natural occurring foam would be really helpful, because people are, it's news, and yet there's heightened concern, and anything we can do to help alleviate people's minds, as well as, inform them how to kind of discern the difference between naturally occurring foams and PFAS would be very helpful. Thank you.
Great. That's a great idea, Laura. I like that. I like that. The other thing I'll mention, if you guys have examples of video that you think really tell a great story or would be a great format for these, send them our way. We're open to, this is just a brainstorming thought process tonight. So Bob Pataki.
Yeah. Hi, Abby. One thing, when I first became involved with PFAS, the thing that stood out for me was that 90% of the public water supplies were no detect. They were fine. They were absolutely pure, like we all expect our water to be. And so the problems are not, we sit in these meetings talking about all the PFAS that we're seeing, but the problems are concentrated, and a visual that shows people that you have to be careful, you have to know what you're looking for, and you have to know what to be informed. You have to, in order to take care of your families, would probably fulfill the need to actually communicate a message, tell people not to smoke, tell people to stay away from PFAS. It's a slightly different approach, but we're so close to it that it's hard to see the forest for the trees.
Bob, let's follow that thought a little bit farther. You said what they would need to know for their families. What are the couple of things that come off the top of your head that you would want your family to know about PFAS?
Well, that's where MPART's role is so important. You need to, if Eagle is going to tell me whether or not the water in my lake is safe to swim in, Eagle is going to tell me whether the fish are poisoned or not, or where the foam is, or whether the water supplies where I personally live. I live within a mile of several. I was totally shocked that within a mile of my home, there are 2 public water supplies that tested positive, where the rest of the state did not. And I had no idea. And, what I thought was a pristine, beautiful Brighton, Michigan was contaminated like that. And so people need to listen to MPART, because MPART can tell you where the problems are. And that's why it's so important to be transparent and to have good factual information coming out of we don't need information that's being shaded or protecting a particular lobby, or we just need plain information to tell us whether our kids are safe.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah. Or my dog. You can take my dog. That picture I sent you of my dog that was sniffing at the foam. I'm not happy that he was sniffing at foam in a lake that has substantial contamination. So, anyway.
Well, and it definitely makes you look at the foam differently when you go all around the state, all around the country, right?
Yeah, very much so.
All right, excellent. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it. Other thoughts? I'm going to come back to this group for additional when we get rolling on these. I think this is the kind of stuff that I want you guys to think about. I also want, as you guys are interacting with your local communities, whether you're on different boards, you're on different, the things you're already involved in, your church groups, your school groups, your whatever the group is, what are the kinds of information you guys would like to be able to do as a 5-minute presentation to that group, just to make people aware? Those are the kinds of things I would like to be able to put together as MPART, so that you have tools that you can take back out to your communities, because that's how this really works. That's how the Citizens Advisory Work Group really makes the biggest impact, is being able to take that back to the citizens. So think about that piece of it as well. All right, Ken, I see your hands up.
Yeah, my thought on it as we were talking about it, and I think of my precious grandchildren who range from the ages of 1 to 25. They're watching social media all the time. The little ones need to see it in a form that they understand, and then all the way up to grandpas in a form they understand. And I'm thinking, is there a way that you promote it as a PSA once you put these together, and they just show up every once in a while in between your watching YouTube or watching something on their devices as a way of educating them. And I'll just leave with the story of my 3-year-old granddaughter when they lived in Belmont. I shared this with some people, but they were moving to North Carolina, so they were staying with us. We didn't know what the water in the sink was, if it had contamination or not. So Wolverine had brought us the 5-gallon jugs of water, and we had friends over, and they went to the sink to give Charlotte a little drink of water, and she said, no, I can't drink that water. She said, it has pea pods in it. She heard us talk about PFAS, but it was something she knew not to drink from the sink, and had to take it out of the Culligan dispenser. So
that's a great point, Ken. Thank you.
Yeah. Alrighty.
I think we definitely need to reach all of our, well, and I think that's the real challenge of any kind of outreach in our current day and age, is how do you reach everybody, because everybody needs a different tool to be able to communicate with. My kids, you would create a meme for PFAS. I have no idea what that would look like, but a meme would do it, because that's about the only thing they actually look at anymore. So, all right, we'll stew on those ideas, because I think we're going to come back and continue to work on that as one of our focus points here for the fall, is working on these videos. I would love to come up and have a couple of these videos done in time for not only our fall meetings, but also for the PFAS conference. So we can kind of highlight them as ways to reach your communities, as ideas for the rest of the country to think about, that they might reach their communities about PFAS and making it understandable. So, all right, all good ideas. All right, let's go from that then. A couple more slides. Oh, here's our environmental. So this is the Enviro Minute that Eagle has. This one was on private household wells, but there are all kinds of varieties out there that are just 1 minute. So we can go to the next slide, Amy. Maybe. There we go. Okay. Let's go to the next one before we come back to this one. I think there's one more that I just wanted to mention. Oh, what happened to the slide on, sorry. I thought we had a slide on the EWG PFAS conference. Is that still in here?
Not in this version.
Oh,
I apparently went to Kelly's email to pull this PowerPoint up, as opposed to going out to the PFAS drive. So,
oh, that's all right. Well, okay, let me just mention it. So, and I will probably call on Tony to maybe just give a little plug. I know that there is a PFAS conference tomorrow by the EWG, the Environmental Working Group, that is actually going to highlight the movie that, Tony, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that movie and what that PFAS conference might be around? I don't know if it's too late to register or not. We were going to put a link in the chat if we had it. Uh-oh, did Tony leave on us? All right, we'll put a link to it in the actual, there we go. If you can find it, Amy, there's a link to this PFAS conference, and it's got a movie that was produced surrounding the work and issues around Oscoda and Wordsmith. So,
Abby, this is Sue. I have the link and I can post it in the chat.
Thank you, Sue. That would be
Thanks, Sue.
most helpful. Most helpful. All right. So getting down to the end here, community feedback. Anybody have any outreach events that they've participated in lately that they would like to talk about? Recent lessons learned, any new recommendations? I know we're all busy doing summer things, but there's still a few things going on in the background. Anything going on in anybody's world? All right, Sandy, go ahead, jump in.
Just so people know, National Academy of Sciences has been doing some work on the importance of PFAS blood testing and working with physicians. And they did a work, I don't know that you'd call it a workshop, a webinar, I guess, today, and they have another one tomorrow afternoon, which is at the exact same time that the EWG workshop on PFAS is going on. So there's a lot of PFAS stuff this week, but that's a pretty important thing. And if you go to the National Academy of Sciences website, they've done 3 community meetings in different sections of the country and have a lot of community members providing them with input on the importance of monitoring and blood work. So I think that's pretty cool that that's going on.
If you have a link for that, Sandy, we could throw it into the chat for everybody too. If you could.
I will look for that.
Look for that. Okay, perfect. Perfect. All right. Other community outreach events? Anybody done any other town halls or local meetings? Dan? Or Danielle?
Yeah, so just a couple quick notes. So we haven't done any events or forums or things like that during the summer, but we are working with HHS on a River Walkers program similar to what they did on the Kalamazoo and I think the Detroit River to talk about PFAS and fish. So that's been an interesting process to work through and think about the challenges of how you get information out to people that are actually fishing on a contaminated river. So looking forward to learning more about that and the groups that are using our river to fish and potentially eating the fish. The other big question or sort of surge of questions that I think we've heard over the last couple months in the Huron is a lot of folks interested in reverse osmosis filtration systems at the home scale. I'm not entirely sure where that interest started, but it has certainly built, I think, over the last several weeks. So people are asking us, is reverse osmosis worth it versus what you filter out? And of course, that's not a simple answer, but there have been several sort of fact sheets and other things that other groups have pulled together to try and answer that question. So just a heads up for all of us that are, communicating or thinking about that, coming to some sort of consensus or, guidance or best practice about when it makes sense to put in a reverse osmosis filter, I think would be good. As I'm looking into it more and more, I feel more and more inclined myself. Even with our well water that is in good shape in our home, it seems like it makes sense to put those in, but there is, cost and responsibility associated with that. So, guidance on that would be welcome.
That's a great comment. I know we've got a few things on that, but I don't know that we've written up anything formally on the difference between a regular carbon filter versus an RO filter systems. Obviously the O has to regenerate, which often may end up in your septic system. So depending on your levels of PFAS contamination, that's, I don't know if that makes it better or worse to end up in your septic. But that's something that people have to consider. So, okay, we will look into that. Daniel, as you get, I'd be very interested in getting some additional information. What did you call it? A river walker event? Is that what you called it?
Yeah, so this is the Riverwalker program, which it's around Eat Safe Fish is really where it started from. In our river, it happens to be centered on PFAS because that's our major advisory. But it's basically, just to describe the program really quickly, it's basically a couple of river walkers who travel in pairs, and we at the Watershed Council identified several sites or sort of routes where river walkers could walk, throughout a morning or an afternoon and talking to people that are fishing. So these are common fishing areas in the watershed or along the river. So, for those that are familiar, Kent Lake and Kensington Metro Park, Ann Arbor, Ypsilanti is another stretch, and there are several others. But we basically pulled together a map of, where they will likely see different groups fishing, and specifically tried to think about where we know people are fishing who also eat the fish so that they can get the right information. And normally these are centered sort of on the summer months. Ours got delayed for a bunch of unimportant reasons. But we'll still hit the late summer and early fall. But it tends to run for 3 months, and it's just another way of getting information out there and engaging with anglers.
I really like that. I've never heard of that, but I think that's a very interesting idea. So, yeah, maybe we can talk more in our local communities about doing something like that. I think Rick's had his hand up for a little bit. So Rick, welcome, and jump in and talk to us.
The mute button. Okay. Hi.
There it is.
I just want to introduce myself. I'm a brand new member to this group, and I wanted to let you know that I am also in Livingston County, live near the Huron River, so I was glad to hear from a couple of people that live out this way. Although Grand Rapids would dispute it, Hamburg Township is one of the most beautiful states or areas in the state. So I am a former member of the Hamburg Environmental Review Board. I'm also the chairman of the Livingston County Solid Waste Committee, Planning Committee. And during the day, I'm an engineering environmental consultant heavily involved in PFAS issues, particularly relating to landfills and what Abby calls dumps, which I take exception to, but that's okay.
Some of them are dumps. Landfills had some engineering, but some of them were just plain dumps.
Oh, you're right about that. And I like to joke that my career's gone to waste. I'm in the dumps about it, and people say I should recycle those jokes. But anyways, I want to introduce myself as a resource. As both part of this committee and as technical committees with Abby on the landfill work group, and we have a subcommittee regarding landfill leachate discharges to wastewater treatment plants. So just wanted to say hello and introduce myself.
All right. Thank you, Rick. Excellent.
Oh, but I would want to tell people, if they're interested, PFAS is the central focus of our 36th annual Engineering Society of Detroit Michigan Waste Recycling Association meeting that's going to be live at the Kellogg Center on November 4th in East Lansing.
Cool. You can get us a link and we can throw it in the chat and share it with everybody.
Yep,
That'd be great.
I'll do that. Yep.
All right.
Perfect. Yep.
Thanks, Rick. Sue, your hand's up.
Yeah, I was going to comment on the filters, but I was happy to hear about the river walkers on the Huron River. I worked on that program for quite a few years in Detroit and Saginaw, and having that one-on-one interaction with people fishing the rivers can be really helpful and meaningful. So I'm happy it's going on the Huron River too. I don't have anything to add about RO versus carbon filtration systems. Just wanted to add that if you're looking for a filter, be sure it's certified for the contaminants that you're trying to remove. A lot of filters out there, but they may not be doing what you want it to do. So just be sure and check those certifications.
Thanks, Sue. And I think I see Scott. Stain.
England, yes. I'd like
Stain?
to follow up with what Daniel and Susan just said.
Yep.
I wanted to ask a question about remediation strategies. Is there a repository or a place where people can go and find out about information on successful remediation? And I mean successful remediation, because you don't want to have people think, oh, if I have an RO system or if I have a carbon filter, you know, now I'm safe. I just wondered if there's postings of, or if successful remediation strategies are even available. I mean, that's really what we're all working for, right?
There's a lot of research going on into treatment technologies, which would be more geared towards remediation. And this isn't talking about residential drinking water wells or talking about somebody's home. This is talking about actual groundwater, surface water, soils that are impacted with PFAS. And so there's a lot of information that we'll hear about during our PFAS summit in December. EPA's got a pretty good, it's called CLUE, which is the cleanup. Mike Jury's on, he can help me out with the acronym. They've also got a pretty robust link of remediation technologies as far as of actually seeing successful projects. I think there's a lot of pieces and parts of projects that are being successfully mitigated for risk and in some cases remediated. But I don't know that we've had a project that's, you know, fully come to full completion of a remedial technology, just because we're still so early in the process and these kinds of things do take a long time. So I will say that in the cases where we've got a drinking water plant, we've had several that have added carbon to their systems to successfully, you know, mediate the PFAS in the drinking water. But I think you're talking about the bigger pictures, right, Scott?
Yeah, either way, I think the more people understand how complicated it is to filter it out, and you know, when the filter's full, what happens to the filter? you know,
Yeah.
like they said, you know, somebody said earlier, if you filter something out, you don't want it to end up in your septic tank. It's the forever chemical, right? So I think just knowing that CLUE, or there's some postings about remediations is helpful. I know everybody's trying to study it. I just didn't know if this, how, you know, if we get updates from the state on what they're learning.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's kind of a helpful thing. We've talked a little bit about it today, about the example with the pool and the education, but I think the remediation, understanding and learning a little bit about that also helps with education.
Yeah. Oh, you're absolutely right. And we'll probably be updating ourselves on PFAS remediation for the next decade plus. So definitely. I'm going to let Mike Jury's got his hand up and he probably wants to contribute to this ongoing conversation. So go ahead, Mike.
I just wanted to mention that we do have a treatment technology work group as part of our MPART group, and that is something that we're always looking at, is all the new treatment technologies and things that are going on in the world of PFAS. So we are always looking at new treatment technologies. So there is an actual work group made up of our RD, Water Resources, Materials Management Division, and others, engineers, geologists, scientists, the whole work group, looking at different treatment technologies as vendors bring them in. And a lot of them, of course, are not really quite there yet, but we look at them, and we do have quite a few people coming in to bring us their ideas. You should also be aware that many of our state universities, MSU, U of M, Western Michigan, three that I can think of, probably Michigan Tech also, have PFAS centers where they are doing research on cleanup efforts and measurement techniques. So there's a lot of work going on. And so we do have an MPART group looking at that.
Yeah, that's a great point. Mike, I forgot to mention that, but I'm actually going to participate in the MSU's Center for PFAS Excellence and Research next week. So because they're, really diving deep into PFAS at MSU, but a lot of the universities are really going gangbusters on some different pieces and parts of the remediation technology stuff. So, all right, Dan, I'm going to go to you because I think your hand is up. New hand is up.
Yeah. So yeah, just great comments, and just following up on the treatment thread. And so in our watershed, this came largely, I think, out of a discussion. So the broader discussion came out of the fact that Ann Arbor installed high quality GAC filters, and GAC filters went in at the major source, and that reduced the load of the 7 regulated PFAS chemicals at this point down to either low levels at the source, or basically non-detect or extremely low levels at Ann Arbor's drinking water intake. But in Ann Arbor, the total PFAS is actually still climbing because of the addition of these unregulated short chain replacement PFAS. So that inspired, I think, a number of people starting to ask about reverse osmosis filters in particular. But Abby, you brought up a great point, which I hadn't thought of, which is the end result of these different treatment systems is really important to consider as well for the larger picture. So I won't belabor this right now because we're getting close to time, but I do think this makes sense to really think through and maybe set aside some time at a later meeting, because the what homeowners can do to protect themselves, and what are all the sort of things to consider, sort of working through that logical flow chart, I think would be really helpful to come up with some ideas of what we should be telling people.
Well, and that might be a 1-minute video. What are the different things that you can consider selecting a filter? I think that's something that's a really decent topic for a 1-minute video as well. We don't have to do specific recommendations because everybody needs to do the research themselves. But I think, knowing that both RO and GAC work, but they both have different ways, the GAC you're going to have to throw in the trash, and the RO is going to end up in your septic tank. So does that work for you? Does that work for your situation? So good conversation. So, all right. Thank you, Danielle. Rick, you're going to get the last word. What's the, what else would you like to contribute?
Yeah, great. So yeah, you're circling around the main issue, and with whether it's in-home or industrial scale treatment facilities, reverse osmosis is being looked at amongst other technologies for like landfill leachate, which cleans it up to surface and groundwater criteria. But what do you do with the residuals of these treatment? Is it from home cartridges to large scale operations? That's the problem. And they right now, the safest place to put them is apparently landfills, which sort of just exacerbates the concentrations of leachate sent to wastewater treatment plants. And so that's the biggest challenge of this whole PFAS cycle, is to destroy PFAS, not just treat it, but destroy the residuals from treatment or destroy it wherever it occurs. And we're not there yet. That's what everyone needs to understand.
And it's the more we can talk about it at the local level, the more that we can get the national conversation going, the faster the technology can get developed, the faster we can all find a common solution to this stuff. So this is why, you know, we work in a small bubble here at MPART and for this Citizens Advisory Work Group, but the you know, the ripple effect is huge. Everybody here has a piece in this puzzle, and when we put it all together, the long-term ramifications of the little pieces and step forwards that we do are so impactful and going to be felt for generations. So I think that's really important. All right, Bob, I see you snuck your hand up. You're going to get
Very quickly, Abby, I
5
won't.
minutes.
I'm sorry we're over time, but one thing I have not heard anyone mention regarding the reverse osmosis, which I use, is that it takes 50 gallons of water to make 1 gallon of usable water. So the waste is incredible. Tremendous amount of water simply goes through the system and goes back into the sewers or wherever. And so when you're considering any solution, no one's mentioned that, but it is a very, very water intensive solution. So please keep that in mind.
I did not know that. I'm gonna have to, I'll have to talk to.
Yeah, check it out. But I have one that I've been using for 10 years, and that's what it does.
Wow. Okay. That's good to know. That's definitely something we would want to put in a 1-minute video, is to consider that, especially if you're working. We were just talking with people in the UP who are trying to get water out of bedrock, and they really do not have much water, so you don't want to use it all on cycling through an RO.
And if you go whole house, boy, that's a tremendous issue. 5 gallons of drinking water versus 100 gallons or 200 gallons of a whole house usage a day. It's a tremendous amount of additional capacity.
Okay. All right. I'm going to close the conversation there. Thank you for some wonderful feedback on that. I'm going to hear, and so I see Rick and Bob still have their hands up, but any objections if we all take a summer break for August and come back for September 14th? Any large objections? Sandy's clapping her hands. Can I get a thumbs up from everybody? No
Fine
objections.
with me.
All right. You guys have worked hard this year. I'm giving you a summer break. So take your time, enjoy yourselves, and we will come back. Those always, you can find the COG links out on the MPART calendar, but I believe that they should already be out as invites, and I will double check that with Kelly. So unless she's not still on. So anyways, just double check that that's on your calendar for September 14th, which will be our next COG meeting. So 8 minutes over, apologies. Thank you for your good work. Again, can we get AJ to turn on his camera for a minute, and we can all give him a round of applause for his hard work and efforts, and maybe see some extra prayers for some miraculous healing.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Hold on. Yeah, thank you, AJ. Really appreciate
Thank you, AJ.
hard work.
Thank you for everything you've done.
Yeah. Good work. All right, everybody, enjoy your night, and we will catch up with you in 2 months. So if you need anything in between, email's always open. Amy, Kelly, and I are all of our MPART team is here for you guys. So let us know how things are going, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So
Oops.
you're gonna be like me and wait to see who's the last one off, or what?
Oh, why? Well, apparently, hold on. I can't even get this thing to shut down now.
You
Abby, I
started-
think the organizer needs to shut it down.
Yeah, you started now it's re-recording. So now
Oh.
it's started recording again.
I can't even see you guys. I can't get my computer to do anything. Hold on. Amy, is Amy still on?
No, I don't think so. Let me look.
All
I'll
right.
find out.
Let me see if I close the window if it goes away.
No, Amy's not on, but somebody started recording it.
Yeah, we
And-
recorded it. We recorded the whole
but
thing.
what happened is it got shut off and then somebody turned it on. So look in your upper left-hand corner of your screen and you notice the red dot with the timer.
Oh, I can't even see you. It won't let me do
Well,
anything.
that's because I don't have my camera on. You can see
No,
me.
but I can't see Teams. Hold on.
So I'll have to figure out how do we turn off the recording.
What if you just leave?
Well, I'm not positive that will work. Hang on. Stop recording.